It is.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Clutch. Sorry for missing last week, but we got a badass interview for you tonight, Mr. Ryan from 31South Exotics. What's up, dude?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, hey, I appreciate you having me, man.
Hell yeah. So, Ryan is a Army veteran. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the Army.
Well, besides everything that we were just talking about. No, I went in. I did 7 years active, 2 years in the reserves. Best thing I ever did. 9/11 happened, and I wanted to join and serve my country, and that's what I did. So.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I was going to give you a lot of shit until you said that 9/11 comment.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Now I feel because everyone that's the stereotypical answer that every military person says. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I joined. It's the best thing I ever did. Like best thing I ever did in my life.
I remember when 9/11 happened, and things were different then too. But yeah, that was a goal when it happened. I was like, I'm going to go serve and use it as a stepping stone to bigger and better things, and college, and so on and so forth. 4 years turned into 7, and then another 2 years in the reserves. So, but yeah, it really was. I mean, I was not the best teenager anyway, so like it was military. The other college, as they call it, the other college. So,
the blue collar college.
Yeah, so it was great, and it's paying for school now. So
nice. So, being a military guy, you probably have your set way of doing things, which
correct.
Most of us do.
Yeah.
How would you say that is attributed to your success with keeping reptiles?
It's actually funny you say that. There's actually, I've noticed a substantial amount of veterans getting into this. Okay, and I think that there are some factors, like some contributing factors of your military service and how you were versus and then transitioning that into your civilian life, and you kind of lose control, right? Like once you become a civilian, you're like, but once you get into the reptiles, it's like, okay, now you have control of something again, and it's your agenda. And so it was very, like, ever since I got back into reptiles, so about 3 years ago, I have changed significantly as a person in a good way. So it has brought some clarity to my life for sure that I had while I was in service. And so, when you get out, it's kind of an eye opener. Things are different. So it's been great. It's that, the OCD or the dress right dress type, you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
It transitions very well. If you're going to take care of these animals and take care of them properly, it takes some OCD a little bit. So, and some pride in your work. So the military will teach you that regardless of what you're doing.
Nice. So what made you choose ball pythons versus anything else? Like why ball pythons?
So I have 2 boas now. That's where I started as a teenager, was with boas. I had a Burmese python. But when I decided to get back into it and kind of viewed it as a hobby / business opportunity, you put some research into it. There's a reason that these animals are arguably the #1 snake species in the reptile industry, right? So their size, their temperament, all these things play into resale value. So when people ask me about the species in particular, you already talking to them about things they want to hear: how small they are, their temperament, how they are with kids, all these things. And then, obviously the morphs and the recessive, like all that's awesome. But when it comes to a business point of view, you want to sell what's going to sell, right? So, but they are, I mean, again, they're beautiful, but boas is where it all started for me.
So when you first started, was it automatically your mind was set, this is going to be a business, or Was it just started collecting and you're like, you know what, I'm getting the bug, maybe I should make something out of this? Or how did 31South transpire, man?
Well, so like I said, it's probably about 3 years ago. Forrest Fanning had a scaleless head lesser female. I was volunteering for him and Desiree at the time. And he had it, he was like, he would sell it to me, and scaleless was there. A lot of people hadn't done a whole lot with it, and a lot of people were like, we shouldn't be messing with it, and some people were like, is this the future? For a while, that's definitely said. And I saw the opportunity for a good hobby for myself, but plus additional income, or having it pay for itself. So I took the risk with that scaleless head girl, and the rest is history. So it was one, and the goal was to make a scaleless or super scaleless head, which I did. And then as I started interacting with more people around the Indianapolis area, I just saw a super blackhead, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Then I saw, of course, desert ghosts, and I was like, okay, now that's really it. And yeah, it just kind of developed itself as I saw it. But every time I saw something that I wanted, it was, how can I turn that into part of a business plan? So
okay, nice. And what, you worked for the cold-blooded cafe side of it, or did you work for the zoo? I'm not sure how Forrest and Desiree had it set up. I figure it's all kind of combined, but
yeah, so it's all one location, but they do have pretty much two separate entities. So they have Cold-Blooded Cafe, which is the rodents, and then they have RepTech, which is the reptiles. So for me, it was Cold-Blooded Cafe. So I would go there, volunteer, clean stuff, separate, rats, rodents, clean their tubs, and that was how I was able to, and still to this day, that's how I pay for my rodents. I'm fortunate, so I'm one of the lucky people, I can go there and get live. So I feed all my animals live. So everybody else that has to get it shipped, obviously, they're getting the frozen stuff.
So I guess that answers the question.
Yeah.
What would you prefer?
I feed live, yeah.
Do you do it because you feel like there's a difference in nutritional value, or what's your thought process between doing live versus frozen product?
Yeah, so that is a tough, question within the industry, right? Like, I prefer them to have like a little bit. I mean, they're already in a tub, right? They're already don't get probably the most substantial lifestyle that you would want them to have anyway. So kind of giving them that gives me some pleasure, and knowing that they still get to operate that killer instinct, if you will, and so I'm really particular though about like my sizes, and teeth development of the rat itself. So everything's live rats, but I don't do very large rats at all. So
You looking at, like, I know a lot of people do it differently. Like, I know some people that,
yeah, you're opening up a can of worms here already.
I know. I told you.
I was like, it is what it is. I mean, one person will say one thing, and then another. I mean, but I do.
Well, I've heard a lot. So I hear some people that just strictly do small all across, regardless of the size of the snake. They'll do additional smalls because it takes away from stress in their eyes. I know some people that do, like, I think they said like a 50 or 60 gram rat, which is like a little bit bigger than a weanling, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. When I go and pick up, it's rat pups and wean rats, and that's about it. I also have the opportunity to get ASFs from them as well. I do have one girl right now in particular, of course. All she wants is ASFs, but since they're available, I mean, I'm gonna give her what she wants. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with the dude. I'm doing the same thing. You saw, we were talking about it.
Like, I've definitely seen some situations, especially with my boas, man, because they can be ferocious. And one girl in particular, when I fed her the other day, there was blood on the side of the tub, but it was just from where she smashed the rat's nose into the tub. And I was just like, wow. I mean, the power of those animals is incredible. And the strike. So
they're a fun animal to feed, that's for sure.
Shane wants to see an Orange Dream spot nose desert ghost. It's already making requests. So
but no, man, like, and if you look at it, like, look at a full-grown ASF versus what a lot of people try to feed. Like, I'm not gonna lie, during breeding season, because I'm using cold-blooded cafe and I have to do the frozen thawed, I prefer to give my girls a medium. Do I appreciate it? Not really. I would rather not give them that, but I know I'm not going to be sitting there with 3 or 4 small rats every week, getting them in so that they can build and they get that same energy out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
now that I'm going back to live, I'm going to follow more of, okay, this is about what an ASF weighs.
Yeah,
so
and
that's what you're going off
now. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So that's probably a goal in the future, but right now, probably we'll need to move out of where we're at, and this location, and close to the city and stuff like that for that. But it is a goal in the future. So, but and it's situational, like you said, where even we were talking about ambient temperature, where you're located. Where you have access to those rats or mice. If you go to a pet store, that stuff adds up really quick. So.
Oh yeah, dude. So in Texas, obviously everyone knows about the fucking crazy storms that we had.
Right.
It wiped out so many people's rat collection. There were people in Texas just to try to get a female. They're like, give me between $10 and $50 per female. Depending on the size. Yeah, that's how. Well, supply and demand, dude.
I know.
Supply and demand. How bad do you want it?
No, you can't be. Hey,
you know what I mean?
I've spent some money on some desert ghost snakes, like, so I get it. Like, supply and demand.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I went and I picked up 5 breeding colonies of rats and 2 of mice, full grown, some already pregnant, and I had to put some sweat and some work into it to be able to get those.
Did you
at a decent price?
Racks? Did you make your own racks for those?
They're wooden racks that someone else made. I just picked them up because they were moving to the ARS racks.
Yeah, gotcha. Good opportunity there. Yeah, I got to seize it.
Yeah, I was like, grab it while I can.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I'm
mad at you.
I'm retired, dude. I don't want to do anything.
I mean, I'm in Indianapolis. I got ARS like right down the street. So again,
that's what I was talking to Precious about. I was like,
it's one of those
you're lucky
things. I have cold-blooded cafe and I have ARS, but without those 2 key things, especially cold-blooded cafe, I mean, I probably wouldn't have dived into this the way I did. That's probably one of your biggest money-making decisions is how you're going to feed the animals. So cold-blooded cafe's been a big key part to what I've done. So my animals are well fed.
So you started out with scaleless head and a bell phase. When did you start progressing into your recessives, and when did you decide to make the jump? Because we were talking about you're already working double recessive projects within the first couple of years, which fucking stellar shit, dude. Stellar shit.
No, so it's been just a progression, right? And it kind of, if you pay attention to where the market's at and what people are doing, I mean, people set the bar for us, to follow for a reason, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, but again, it started locally. When you get on Morph Market and you're like, oh, there's some local people around here. One guy's, right down the street from me, literally, and that's Circle City Constrictors. And so that's Jim Searing. And I look on his morph market and I'm like, some of this stuff is unbelievable. Like, so it started with just, the messaging, reaching out to each other. And next thing you know, I go see his collection, and that was super motivating. I was also fortunate enough a long time ago when I first got out of the Army to see Forrest and Desiree Fanning's, when they were in the ball pythons, I got to see their whole setup, which was really cool. Oh, yeah. But when I saw the super blackhead, I fell in love. So what I called like my phase one of my like business plan was pretty much all blackhead. Okay. And then as I started again following the market, paying attention to what people were doing, some videos came out, mostly Will from Royal Canadian Reptiles. I'd say Justin Kabilka, I think maybe did like a Halloween special, something like that. And he showed a leopard. Actually, he posted it recently too, I think. So a leopard, desert ghost, hypo. And okay, let's get on Morph Market and check it out and see what's going on. So, and I kind of just fell into that because when I saw the Desert Ghost, and I even said it a year ago, I said that this is, and people, it's been around forever, but I said a year ago, this is probably going to be the future of ball pythons. So, and and now I stick to that statement, definitely.
Oh, yeah. So how big's the collection right now?
41 total animals. 41. So yeah, it's not.
Is that counting the boas too, or?
Yeah, that's okay. 2 boas. Yep, 2 female boas. So yeah, I've had some standards for myself in a way where I was like, I want to have this many. This is how many I can, keep in a room with ambient temp. I had 3 clutches last year. I had 1 hold bag. Everything else was gone and sold. So, 40 to 50 is a good number for me for the next couple of years. So it's just kind of, you replace, you can replace the dad with a hatchling that might be better. And, just go about it however you want it. Again, it goes back to control. It's your business, right? So.
Right. So you're looking at 40 to 50 total. Or are you looking at just breeders, I'm assuming? Or are you looking at like total animals? Because that's going to be
50 total, yeah. But I'm right now, people will always, like I posted something today that had my total collection, and it's got a sex ratio on there. I think it's like 18 males, 23 females. And that's a little high, but again, looking at the market a year ago, there were no Desert Ghost females available. I think if you look now, there's 10 to 12 out of 141 available on Morph Market. And again, knowing numbers like that's important too. Like,
right.
And they're not cheap. So when the opportunity came, though, I think I got 7 or 8 from Fireball. Yeah. So
that's a significant investment, sir.
That was that was if you look at it from the business point of view, that was the investment. Was like, okay, the females. Right. It was, these ones are available. You got Cryptic in there, you've got Desert Ghost in there, you've got Desert Ghost Hypo, you've got Het Genetic Stripe in there. So there was a lot of potential. So yeah, it was definitely an investment decision at that point. So, but I knew the potential. I knew the potential was there.
Yeah. Do you want to keep that at breeders though, or like what are your goals with this? Are you looking to make like 10 to 15 quality clutches a year?
Yeah.
Keep it very small. Okay.
Yeah. To answer that, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, 10. Awesome males would be great. 15 maybe, and then the rest females. And I'd like to get to the point too where it's just all visual to visual. There's nothing wrong with heads. Obviously, I've got several of those too, but and I have snakes too that are just part of my collection. Like, right. No breeding plan. like a Paradox champagne. I've got a Hypo Desert Ghost champagne male. Like, I don't really have a plan for him, but he'd be a good backup. But I still have some stuff that's just I don't. Oh, my holdback from last year, I have no plan for him. So it's a Super Orange Dream Yellow Belly Blackhead Hoss Het Hypo, and it's unreal. So, but I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I really don't. So,
I mean, that's the joy of this industry, though. Like, you get to do whatever you want to.
yeah, and the thing with him is, it's one of those, it's good to sometimes just enjoy the animals as well, like just for being so beautiful, looking at them and not necessarily seeing dollar signs all the time. So
yeah.
I think it's really important to do that.
What are you doing as far as shows? Do you go to any shows? Are you just doing local? Are you actually moving around? Or
so this year, so Indianapolis actually has a really good reptile show that's put on by ARS. And so this year I will be vending that. Okay. Short-term goal, maybe long-term goal, depending on if tables are available and how COVID plays out, right? But I made a goal for myself 2 years ago to vend Tinley in Chicago. And I've got displays coming from Tony Thomas, Hardwired Exotics. I bought all his displays. So
nice.
He used them twice, I think, before he just kind of was selling everything off Morph Market. And so they were available, and I'd already bought, half my collection at one point was from Tony. So we have a really good, that's my long distance mentor. So we have a really good.
Now I know why Shane was all about this interview.
Well, him and I have talked off and on, though, too, ever since. So yeah, you brought up Precious earlier, and I did some videos with her, and that's like my little sister. So I did a video with her, and I showed Desert Ghosts and Desert Ghost Hypo, and he's hit me up right away. So I should have a whole clutch of Desert Ghost Hypo this year. So he's on the waiting list, I guess you could say.
Now, are you guys working it to where like you're setting up more collaborations locally, or how are you guys looking to kind of push your marketing out? Are you just going to do Morph Market and shows? Like, what's your plan with your marketing strategy?
So, like, as far as marketing goes, Precious was my first like key networking step, I guess you could say. But then we also just like hit it off really well. And again, we're really good friends. She's like my little sister, and she's also somewhat of a mentor because we just kind of feed off each other ideas. But she has she developed a social media following for herself, and I was like, okay, well, that's your strong point, and my strong point might be my collection. Let's see what we can do. And we kind of looked at it that way. And then again, as we went, we got Circle City Constrictors, and he's got some killer stuff. And then we have another guy here locally named Baker Sturgeon, who is like under the radar, undercover, doesn't have any like business page or anything like that, but he's working triple recessives this year. So we have like a really cool little network of people here, and we all just feed off each other. But I will keep myself and my brand separate from most other people just because I got to take some pride in it and do my own thing. So
of course, man, but it's a good thing to look at, and I like the way you said it because you're essentially saying where you are weak, someone else is strong, and vice versa. So it really helps out.
That's what we all, and in this hobby or this business industry, whatever you want to call it, that's what we got to do. We got to help each other out, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed. I think someone actually in the comments asked the question, do ball python breeders like even compete with each other anymore? And that's actually a question I've thought about recently, where you don't really see a whole lot of like competition or people bringing up somebody else and devaluing somebody else. You don't really see that. So Because there's people out there that if they really wanted to be competitive and really wanted to be a driving force, they could put people out of business, you know. So JK.
Oh, absolutely. They
yeah.
could, but there's just no reason for it. Like,
exactly.
At the end of the day, we're all growing the market.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You can be in a competition to make something first. I remember 3 years ago, man, like being able to say that you had something that was a world's first was
we talked about
it was the fucking tits.
Yeah.
Like that's the best way of saying it, you know? Like
yeah,
that's what everyone wanted to do.
We talked about that though, yeah. Like there was a point, I swear there was a point where I was like, it was annoying at first, right? With that, because it was like just a point. It was just, you know, to get people's attention. But then if it really was a world's first and it's something new, it's intriguing in a way because it's like, okay, well, let me check this out and see then you start looking at morph market, right? And you're like, what genes are at play? Oh, it's got lace in it. Well, where's the lace at? Who's got lace? Let me check it out, right? And so it's cool in a way because I produced my first egg I cut open was potentially a world's first. So super orange dream, yellow belly, blackhead, I don't think anybody had produced before. So that's kind of cool to think that or know that. And then I have other people's world's first. So like Tony being one of them, I have his Cypress Desert Ghost, and I've already got him breeding. So
I think the trend's kind of gone from, oh, I have a world's first to, oh, I have this many double recessives, or I'm working tripled recessives, or I'm working that quad het. You know what I mean? And it's funny how you watch the trend, man. Like it's all what's popular and what's the flavor of that month. You know what I mean?
Well, I do think, like you said, though,
that's where the future's going, though. You have to do that multiple recessive now.
Well, I think if you really, if time is money, and this industry is going to continue to go the way we want it to go, recessives are not going anywhere, and we're talking doubles, triples, or then including all those hets in there too. Still makes the animal very valuable. So people are just putting more value on their time, you know, and then you're going to see less of someone's getting one banana or coral glow male and breeding it to 50 females. Like you're not going to, those days are pretty much gone and behind us. I don't really necessarily agree with that either.
Well, I want to say that it's all based off of what you're doing. Like, yes, you and I have a very similar goal.
Yeah.
With trying to keep it somewhat manageable under just us.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it confined to a certain space. Obviously, I mean that's everyone's goal, to keep it confined to what they have, right? But we want it kind of where we can manage it ourselves. We don't want to bring in help. We don't want to do any of that. And yes, you want to keep as much quality as possible, but on the flip side of that, you have the people that do predominantly 90% of their business is wholesale. So you're going to have that banana to whatever pastel breeding or whatever breeding, you know what I mean? Because they're just pushing it all into the pet market, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But
no, you're absolutely right.
For the serious breeder.
Yeah. No, we still want those people too. Yeah. Because that's where the fever starts. Right? Like that's where it starts, is at the pet store, the little girl at the pet store, and then 2 years later she's coming to a breeder saying like, I want this, you know, that's how it starts. And that's a key part of the industry. Yeah, I agree. And Tony, actually, we had an interesting conversation about his business, and he had brought up a statistic about, I think 80% of his sales from 2020 were non-recessive animals. So that still shows you the driving force behind, you know, the ball python world. And he's got a lot of the new, you know, he's got new stuff. He's got Confusion and Redhead and so on and so forth. So he knows what he's doing. But like I said, when it comes to recessives, I think you're just going to see people just putting that value more on there just because of their time, or you're going to have to pay for years of work from somebody else.
Well, and you have to think about your area too. Like obviously us being in the US, what we're able to do, it's great because we could ship coast to coast, right? But at the end of the day, like here locally, if I was trying to offload anything that's above a $400 animal, it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen because that's not the type of area that I live in. But me pushing it out to California or pushing it to New York or what have you, I could do that all day.
Right.
But I'm looking at strictly pet trade here locally. So if I get a bunch of normals that I don't want to keep or like single gene, double gene, I just go strictly to the pet store and I'm like, hey, what do you want for this? They're already started. You won't have a problem feeding them. Everything's good. Here you go. Just give me a number.
Yeah, I know it's interesting that you say that because that's like a perspective of it that probably a lot of people don't necessarily have experience with, to be honest. So, or more people than I know.
So, how do I want to put this? What has been like the biggest difficulty that you've faced so far within this industry?
Oh man. Probably that scaleless head project was difficult. It was rough. So everything was fine. Put a scaleless head to a scaleless head, and that clutch. So I had one pip, so I cut, and everything was good there too. So I did hit a super scale. It looked like a pastel lesser scaleless ball python, and next day the whole clutch is gone. None of them made it. And the weird thing about it was just pulling that animal out of the egg and just seeing it and feeling it, and I had so much hype built up for that, and then I held it and I was just like, man, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. And then recently I saw one at a show and it did not look very healthy, right? So that's what a lot of people say about them too. You really got to change how you take care of them. And so, but it was kind of a gut check. It was, do I want to pursue this and keep going down like the scaleless head?
Right.
Because I do think scaleless head by itself is a great enhancing gene. Definitely don't want to take that away, right? Like I still have scaleless head in my collection, but the supers, just not sure. So that sucked, and then losing the animals, that was rough. So
that's the hardest part about doing what we do, man.
Years and years of getting that girl ready and the male, and then everything was good and got a scaleless, it's cool. So them not making it was rough.
So are you staying? You're gonna stay in the scaleless project? Did you get out of it altogether?
So I have one animal that has scaleless head in it, but it is het desert ghost. So I do want to see if scaleless head in desert ghost actually brightens it even more. So I do want to see what happens there. So, but I'm not going to shoot for super scaleless. Like I said, it was kind of a gut check, and it's one of those things where it's like, is this something, have we taken it too far, or like, you know what I mean? And no one has the right answer on that. So that was just something personally for me when I had the animal and it didn't make it, and then hold it in my hand, right? So
there's a lot of speculation behind that project too. You know what I mean? I know some of the guys that bought into it right when it came out. I know the issues that they've had with raising females.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of speculation that they're infertile, things like that. But a lot of the females weren't up to size until now, or
right.
they weren't acceptive of a scaleless head male. So
yeah. And it's funny you say that because the same show where I saw the male that didn't look good, the P5 pythons who I bought some snakes from them had a female that was absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful, big, healthy, hydrated. So that gave me some hope. But again, I think before investing more into it or putting more time into it, which is still an investment, just kind of see how it plays out a little bit more.
No, I got you on that. So what would you say has been your biggest investment so far? Like, I understand you bought heavily into Desert Ghost, but what's the number one snake? Like, what's the one where you were like, I really want it, I have to have it, fuck, that's a big bill?
Sun Dragon Boa. Sun Dragon female boa is actually probably my biggest investment animal. For ball pythons, be a sunset female, and
Yeah,
she's eating really well. So, but you know, again, like in the planning processes, as far as initial investments, it was racks. So I think again, it was important to know where I'm. I'm just not going to go buy 60 animals. It's where am I going to put them? How am I going to feed them? How am I going to keep them healthy? Those things should be definitely put in consideration, obviously. But yeah, the racks were a big investment. So, Shane, that super inchy hypo desert ghost had to be.
Shane, leave his collection alone.
That, no, he's right, but the sunset female and a leopard blackhead ultra male female pos head pied. That's my most recent, yeah. So, but that boa, I mean, you can get on Morph Market and see what they go for. So.
I feel like with your community, I'm backtracking a little bit.
No, you're good. No.
With you being in indie, you have a great group of people to bounce off of and mentor or get mentorship from or mentor, obviously. What do you think was one of the key things that you picked up before Forrest left? Or what was one of the best things that he taught you along the way?
That Forrest taught me?
I mean, that dude was an encyclopedia. I went a couple of nights with him where we were up probably 6-7 hours talking, and by the time we finished that conversation, I couldn't tell you where we started.
Yeah, it's interesting. Man, that's a tough one. And I miss him dearly. So probably one of the biggest things that he taught me, or something that stuck with me, I guess you could say, that he said. We'll say a couple things, but about ball python industry in general was we have to police ourselves up, right? Because it is probably the biggest part of the reptile industry, and it controls a lot. I mean, there's people in the comment section now talking about USARC and ball python industry more than probably any of the other ones has a substantial amount of money going into that type of stuff. So policing ourselves up, keeping other breeders in check, and telling people when they're calling people out, so on and so forth. The hard stuff, right? The hard stuff. And when it came to reptiles in general, though, I mean, like you said, he was an encyclopedia. It was just inspiring to see him and Desiree go from ball pythons and rats in this little not like an industrial thing that had 2 overhead doors, and they're renting it out. And then I hit him up a couple years later, just to, out of nowhere, hey man, how you been? Whatever. And the dude sold his whole collection of ball pythons. He bought they bought a house. They sold their collection. Then they had a vision for Cold Blooded Cafe. And then now they probably have one of the most amazing reptile collections in the world.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So to see that, and then also just know who he was as a person and like things he had to deal with. I mean, it's all inspiring in itself. The dude didn't have to say anything really in particular. He pretty much kind of just led by example. So yeah, I miss him. I miss him a lot. And I mean, we weren't that close, but like he was an inspiration to me. So he still is. So.
Did he talk you into buying an Ambronia?
No. No, it's no, that's funny. I want one. They're really cool, but I mean, right now it's just we'll stick with ball python. Yeah, we'll just stick with ball pythons and boas. But yeah,
Dude,
no,
I got him on. So if you know Forrest, you know that even though he did ball pythons for a while, he had a very very big distaste for how do I want to say this?
the morph and the ball
Anything
python.
with morphs.
Yeah, I know.
Any species that carries morphs. And I caught him on this shit because he was talking about how color changes in localities. And I was like, well, isn't that kind of like a morph force? And we're in Pomona, and this is happening. And this is like 3:00 in the fucking morning.
You went down that
right?
hole with Forrest.
Yeah, I went down that rabbit hole with him, and he literally looked at me, told me to shut the fuck up, and
you're a better
our conversation ended at that point until the next day, and he was like, "You got me, dude." And it was true because he was bagging on me for fucking ball python morphs, and I was like, "It's the same thing as a morph, though, isn't it?"
Yeah,
because its color changes all off or based off a locality, and I was just fucking with him. I was trying to get under his skin because we do that to each other. I think you have to do that with anyone you're friends with. If you don't give them a little shit and don't test their limits, then are you truly friends?
That was probably my mistake that I had with Forrest, is I just wanted to hear what he had to say, and I took most of the things he said for, seriously. So I never really did mess with him like that. I kind of regret that I didn't, maybe I was too serious with him, But when it came to ball pythons, and like I said, I've seen their collection that they had. I mean, deep down, the dude's like a giant teddy bear. Like, he loves all animals, like all reptiles. Like, so, it just what sparked his interest, once he got into the locality stuff and, the abronia and the endangered species and what you can do to actually help the environment. And it was just really inspiring. He's like a local, or like a low key, Jeff Corwin or Steve Irwin, right? Like, on his own level of that. So
that's a good way of putting it.
And again, I just really respected that.
So did he teach you how to palpate, or did you work off of ultrasounds is what I want to know.
Yeah, so again, fortunately, so you go do that, you got that local networking thing here, and one of the guys has an ultrasound, lets us all use it, right? And
that's cool, man.
He comes over and we ultrasound, and he's not good at sexing like his hatchlings, but then we got another guy that's really good at doing that, and we just sit around. I mean, that's what we do, and it's great. I think actually, and again, you don't really see any of that type of stuff except for Precious, like, because she again has the social media stuff. So I think she has something on there recently with me and Baker ultrasounding some of her snakes and stuff like that. So.
Hell yeah. So have you worked the palpate method, or
no?
Have you so you've always done ultrasound?
Yeah, I've just gone. I mean, once you spend enough time with the animals, you kind of learn their habits and the pattern and everything too. So this being my second year of actually producing, like, it was all the key signs were there, everything was there, like. So I knew, and it was like, hey, bring the ultrasound over, let's see what's going on. And then next thing you know, like, almost every female I paired is over 25 millimeters. So. Damn. Got some ovulations. So it's looking good to be a good year. I want to put my stamp on 2021 and put my mark on the market, if you will. So.
There you go. It's your key pairing in your eyes.
My key pairing this year? Yeah. Woo, man.
That you're willing to divulge, because I know some people aren't willing to put everything out there.
Actually, so I have an ovulation from Tri-Stripe to a super pastel yellow belly desert ghost, who is also possible Krypton. Now, the reason that she's possible Krypton is because the super pastel in the yellow belly is like so vibrant on her, it kind of washes out a lot of the pattern around the eyes and the head where you would see the cryptic or krypton influence. So it's really hard. But as far as the pairing goes and where she came from and the pairing, there's a possibility. But so I'll definitely have a clutch of double het Desert Ghost tri-stripes. So that's a done deal as long as everything goes well. Like I said, got the ovulation there. And then a Leopard Orange Dream double het Desert Ghost pied to a Desert Ghost het pied. So if you look at like best possible outcome on that, would be, Orange Dream Desert Ghost pied. Not necessarily, not that I wouldn't want Leopard in there too, but it does kind of reduce the pattern on pieds. So, and man, I don't know. Those are probably my biggest ones right now. So,
what's one gene that you currently do not have that you would like to add to the collection, and why?
Whew. Can it be? I'm gonna say puzzle. I'm gonna throw a recessive out there. I know, but I'm gonna go with puzzle. It's another one that, obviously other people have already produced Desert Ghost puzzles, which is Will, Royal Canadian Reptiles, and it's amazing. It's pastel Desert Ghost puzzle, and I think it's a male. And yeah, I mean, it's just DG everything. But yeah, puzzle would definitely be one that I would like to get into.
Okay. So your focus is going to stay on Desert Ghost with other recessives added to it.
Well, so that's I think I've got 10 or 11 total recessive genes in the collection right now. So the plan mostly with that is to go the Desert Ghost route, but I also have a substantial amount of hypo.
Okay.
So hypo, yeah, people hate on it. They can say what they want, but hypo is the thing about that too. Is if you look at it again from a business standpoint, the price point on hypos versus this cool stuff that you can make is really good. Like there's really good selling potential on hypo. You're not going to break someone's bank account. And I've got some hypo stuff that's out of control. Like Pastel Cypress hypo is one of the most beautiful snakes I've ever seen. One of the most beautiful ball pythons I've ever seen. So, and it's simple, but it literally, the cypress on the side is orange, and then on the pastel on the back is yellow. It's literally a two-tone. It just doesn't even make sense. So, and then I have a white lace hypo female, so a super lace hypo, and it's what lace actually does with the color mutations is unreal. So when she's in shed right now, but of course, yeah, lace is a good one you gotta have. So.
I've been giving my buddy Marshall a hard time about that dude for a long time, sir. One of these days he's gonna catch it with the perfect thing for me. He hasn't done it yet. I do love a white lace. It's a gorgeous animal. The lace phantoms were freaking amazing. That's
one of the episodes I watched. Yeah.
It's just not my thing yet. You know what I mean? He's going to throw it into something, and I'm going to have it. I know it's coming. I'm just waiting.
Can you imagine it with Monarch, though?
Why'd you have to bring Monarch?
Hey, I know you got something going.
I got one. I already have plans with her. The male, once I eventually get him, he'll be going deep into a lot of things as well.
I'm a big supporter of Monarch, and like I told you before, I probably would have gotten Monarch instead of Ultramel, but at the time there was no females available, and I probably didn't do enough research really to find everybody that had Monarch, because really it seemed like one person, and it was I don't want to mess up his name, but yeah, the veterinarian,
Tom Harbin.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no disrespect, sorry, but yeah, he everything he was selling was male. So, not that there's anything wrong with that.
There's not. I mean, if you're going recessive, it's really honestly.
Yeah, I was just.
It's kind of the smarter way to go.
Yeah, I was already very male heavy, so I was just like,
right. Yeah. No, in all honesty, I got lucky with the monarch gene, man. Like, it just kind of fell into my lap, right place, right time. You know what I mean? I went to, I go to every Arlington, but I went to the last Arlington, and I went over to Lone Star Reptiles, and I met people that were really heavy into the monarch morph, and one thing led to another. We became really good friends, and I went over there and I did a video with their collection, and we just kind of kicked it off, worked out a deal to work a visual female and a visual male eventually. And
that's with Lone Star?
No, that was with MSB, but they were over.
You've done a video with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I saw that. Yeah. Okay.
So I met them over at Lone Star Reptiles.
Okay.
Because Earl and Ren, before Arlington kicks off, the people that travel a distance, if you reach out to them, they'll usually invite you over. They'll have people that they invite over. And I got lucky last year and was part of that group. So it gave me the opportunity to reach out and do some, what's the word? Good Lord, I just drew a blank.
Some networking.
Networking, yes, thank you. I was going to be
socializing.
Same thing.
That was a great video when you went to. It's a woman, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like so that was a great video. She has some crazy ultramel stuff. Or I mean, monarch.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
It's the same thing. No, it's the same thing.
It's not. It's not.
It really isn't.
If you see it in person, it is not the same.
No,
thing.
It's definitely not. I had to.
You're gonna get my ass kicked if she watches this now.
I had to bust your balls a little bit.
All right, so I'm gonna jump on it, man. Last year, I guess we could. Not a lot of people have produced this year, so I'm still gonna go with last year. Looking at last year, who produced the best snake to you, and what was it?
Last year, the best snake. Oh man, that's loaded question. Whew.
I like it that way. I'm gonna start excluding Ozzy and Justin because everyone tries to go that route.
No,
it's not wrong. I mean, they produce amazing stuff every year.
I got you, but I got you though. So Brad Boa, Cypress, spot nose clown, probably the nicest clown I've ever seen. So,
baby woke up.
Cypress, spot nose clown.
Hell yeah, that's a good one, man. Like when the GHI Mojave clown came out last year, I was losing my shit.
Shane, the calico.
The calico's best ever.
That's what I meant to say. The calico. Yeah. That's it. No, but
Kelly for it.
If we went back to last year and we said who had the best odds on a clutch, it would be
Shane.
Small Town Exotics with that Batman clutch, right?
What was it? 3, 4?
4.
I can't remember now. And 3 of them were females or some crazy shit like that. Yeah.
That's why
Shane's just got crazy odds in the first place. Like
I told him I'll trade him, one of those girls for a Hypo Desert Ghost male that he needs this year. 4 of them. That's unreal.
You kind of answered my ultrasound question now because you've never palpated. Because that's become one of my regulars is palpation or ultrasound, which I understand a lot of people in this day and age with what they're trying to do. It's nice to take the guesswork out of it. And if you have the ability to, well, why the hell wouldn't you?
Right.
Let me see. It kind of... I got to kind of load it up a little bit with military stuff because it is what it is. Did you ever have to get a exhaust sample?
No. I was, I'm very familiar with that, but I never, they never really messed with me like that. I don't, but yeah, I've seen it. I've never done it to anybody, but people fall for that one pretty hard. And what was it? Brake light fluid.
Yeah, your blinker fluid.
Blinker fluid. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Exhaust samples.
If you get the new private doing dumb shit, yeah, you gotta take that exhaust sample to Chief.
I had this is gonna sound like an asshole thing, but whatever.
You were a medic, combat medic?
Yeah, I was a medic, and I had one of my new female privates come in, and I had her get an exhaust sample. So we had these giant black bags too, like almost contractor sized bags, right? And I make her fill up 3 of them. And I was like, okay, once you're done with this, you got to leave them outside of the first sergeant's office. And he wants them all lined up across the wall in ops so that he could check them all and make sure everything's good.
That's nice.
And literally she goes into ops with 2 giant fucking bags full of exhaust. Yeah, I was doing push-ups for like an hour and a half after that, but it was well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the military, since you brought it back up, it is really interesting to me to see that connection, though, especially hearing yourself, my experience, and there's been, Marshall, or with the
Marshall was a Marine.
Yeah. There's several, and
Danny right now, he was in the Army as well.
Who is Royal Canvas Exotics?
Mm-hmm.
Harrison,
Yep.
Army vet. Yeah. So seeing all that, I mean, I think there's a connection there of veterans that have a relationship with cold-blooded animals. So,
well, I think it kind of falls in. This is going to sound weird.
No.
It falls into our sense of we like to play with danger, but only to a certain extent, right? Because you're like you're bred, and you're like, I'm not going to say brainwashed because it's not true. You're not brainwashed. You're the same person, but people feel like you're brainwashed because you do movements the same. You do all that shit the same, right? But you're brought up to think about the morbidity of life. You know what I mean? Like your job, you're there to die.
Yeah, when you sign
you're taught. Yeah,
you sign your life insurance when you're 19. You got to sign this before you deploy, just in case you die. Somebody's getting $250 grand. Like, yeah, that's an eye opener.
And I think that's what the kind of connection is, because it's looked at as vile. Well, not anymore, but it was essentially looked at as vile in the beginning. It was looked at as something that weird people do, as a very dangerous hobby to have. Not that there's aspects of it that could be very dangerous, especially depending on the species that you keep. But for the most part, it's a very safe hobby.
Yeah.
But it appeals to military because of that, I think. I think that I know for myself, excuse me, I like reptiles, which is considered dangerous. I ride motorcycles extremely fast and just kind of do my shit, which is inherently dangerous.
Man, you live in the best part of the country for that shit, though.
I ride year round, dude.
Like, you really, yeah.
There's no off season here. It's wonderful.
New Mexico, man, is beautiful.
But I think that's
which side of the mountain
a big part of it.
Which side of the mountain are you on?
What do you mean?
You're in El Paso.
I'm in El Paso.
Okay, yeah.
Like I'm
on the other
right
side.
at Fort Bliss.
Okay.
But I lived on the other side of the mountain too, because I used to live in New Mexico too.
Gotcha. That's the fancy side.
Yeah. I'm on the far east. I'm right next to Fort Bliss. So I'm on the peasant side of El Paso now.
I think that there's a subculture connection too. Like, if you join the military, it's like a subculture of people. If you have a bunch of tattoos and you're in the military, it's again another subculture of people. If you were in the military, and then you get out and you're like, I have no subculture of shit. And then you're like, oh man, look at all these people with snakes. But for me too, I think there's like I can relate to the ball pythons, especially with they're very high anxiety, high stress. They just need taken care of, right? And they'll be fine. Like that's how I am as a person. So
and that's what a lot of us use it for too, is actually as anxiety and stress deterrent.
Yeah.
Like, and I think we were talking about that the first time we talked, is like that there's been a lot of treatments for PTSD, and this is my treatment. This is what I do because nothing else affects me the same. Like nothing else brings me down as fast as my animals can calm me down. So
I'm with you 100% on that. Like it is a mental stimulation that really like helps me cope with shit, for lack of a better word. But again, once I got into it and then got into it more serious, and then the planning aspect, like it really changed my life.
So how many clutches are you expecting this year? How many do you hope to hit next year? So
right now I've done 11 pairings and 12 coming up. If I can get so I have a Desert Ghost Cryptic het genetic striped female, and I just purchased a inchy yellow belly pastel clown het Desert Ghost male. If I can get him up to size for that pairing, then that would be number 12, which would be a key pairing for sure. But so 11 or 12 this year, and next year, honestly, probably as of right now, it's probably going to be around the same, because I'm at a weird point where the way I had to do things was I had to buy a lot of males. When it came to the Desert Ghost Hypo project, again, males was like all that was available. So the way it's played out, now I've got all the females up to size. So now I'll have all these clutches this year, or if I do, I'll have some holdbacks. But then next year, the only females I'll have ready are the same ones, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But, to see how this year plays out. I'm not trying to.
It's funny to watch the wheels kind of turn in your head right now.
Yeah,
I mean, how many of these am I gonna repeat based off of the odds? What do I want to do?
Yeah, and that's the thing though that I love about it too. Like I actually went through and I did a best option for each clutch, best reasonable outcome or best outcome. So like for every pairing, what would be the best snake outcome? And yeah, I do crazy OCD shit like that too, but I love it. I do. I love it. So.
Are you one of those that checks every single day on the incubator, or do you leave your eggs?
No, I actually leave that alone. Yeah, I'm not one of those. It is pretty funny though, seeing some of those memes though, like the people checking on the incubator memes are pretty classic. But no, I don't do that. Probably checking on ovulations though, I'm pretty ridiculous with. But pairings now too, I put them in there, and some people check like every hour or 6. I'm just like, I'll check on that shit in the morning. If they are, they are. If they're not, they're not. I'm not gonna lose any sleep about it. So.
I don't have to this year, thankfully. Like, when these guys lock, they lock.
Yeah, and when I get once that male, and I don't do a whole lot of like one male to 4 or 5 different females. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the way that I could make it work. And my planning was I've tried to be as precise as possible with the planning and what I want the outcomes to be. So you'll see, I think I have 2 males in particular that went to 2 different females this year, or maybe 3. And that was a Pastel Super Chocolate Desert Ghost Hypo and a Super Inchy Hypo Desert Ghost. So there's reasons with those two in particular, I mean, they're both supers. So whatever comes out, I'll definitely know who the dad is. So
you get to play Who's Your Daddy soon. That's good.
Yeah, it'll be a little easier this time. Last year, I had one that was rough. I was like, what the? I was like, I don't know what this is. I had to hit up Tony and ask him, like, this was the pairing, and this was the other dad that could be. What do you see? I was like, I see this and this, and he's like, no, that's not there. So it was interesting, but it's just learning. You're just always learning, always, and I love that. And I'm terrible with yellow belly.
Dude, that's
like right off.
I told you, do not do a single yellow belly to a recessive. Like make sure you have some stuff in the mix, because
Shane is killing.
It's taken me like I had it pretty spot on, but it took me 3 different mentors and like about a month and a half of them coloring up, having more than one shed, you know what I mean, to be able to spot, okay, this is for sure yellow belly, this is for sure normal.
Yeah, I'm still terrible with
it. Dude, horrible.
So I don't claim to be an expert on yellow belly at all. So. Probably never will.
Hell yeah, dude. I have the stuff to get a hold of Ryan. I did really bad on this. I owe Ryan a second round. We will definitely set up a second round at some point, because I did not. My life has been chaos lately, guys. I apologize for that shit. But Ryan, do me a favor, let them know how to find you, and I will definitely, as soon as this gets uploaded to YouTube, I will have it all set up and have it easy for them to come find you.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, I just got right now. Facebook is my easiest social media platform for me. Instagram, I'm getting better. Shane's helping me with that.
You'll be at 10,000 soon then.
No, it's so Instagram as well. I got that, and then you can check out the YouTube videos with Precious Pythons. She's actually dropping one Wednesday of the last time she came here, and an unboxing from JKR. So I got a little secret animal from him that could be a game changer potentially with some of my projects. Mostly the Desert Ghost Pied stuff. So, but yeah, no, and I'd be amiss too if I didn't shout out to Desiree Phantom. We talked about Forest, and everything, but the stuff that she's been able to do in the last year, as a single mom, and what happened, and taking care of Lars and the businesses, and Steve helping her, of course, right? But shout out to Desiree Fanning for sure, and leading the way for women in the community, and Precious as well. She's trying to be a voice for women in the community as well.
Very strong woman.
That was awesome what you did for March, by the way.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, that was an awesome idea, man.
I wasn't the only one that thought of it, but I'm glad I did.
You're the only one that I really saw doing it though. So that was cool.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Love it. Definitely, like I said, you'll be on for round 2. We'll work this either later this year or early next year, depending on schedules. I know we're both kind of crazy all the time. Guys, thank you so much for watching tonight. Next week we're gonna have oh god, he's gonna kick my ass now. Jimmy Cruz from Ball Life. Actually, one of my very first interviews that I ever did on YouTube at a Pomona show, and we're gonna touch base with them again. Spend some time with the OG. Ryan, thank you again, brother. Everyone in YouTube land, thank you guys for joining us. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.